Gold doesn't just disappear. It doesn't vanish into thin air. But in 1940, nearly 200 tons of Belgium's national gold reserves did just that. And the real story? It's not just about war, it's about betrayal, global banks, secret deals, and how nations are still trying to get their gold back nearly a century later. You're watching Gilded, where we chase the metal, not the hype. It started in the early days of World War II. Hitler had launched his campaign of conquest, and Belgium knew it was only a matter of time before his armies crossed the border. Fearing for their wealth, the Belgian government quietly transferred 198 tons of gold, about $10 billion in today's money, to the Bank of France in 1940 for safekeeping. But what happened next is still considered one of the biggest gold betrayals in modern history. When German troops began advancing on France, the Banque de France, France's central bank, decided to move the Belgian gold again. But instead of shipping it to Britain or Canada or the US like most allies did with their reserves, they rerouted it to the French colony of Dakar in Senegal. Why? That's where the trail gets murky. Because once France fell to the Nazis, Dakar came under the control of Vichy France, the puppet regime installed by Hitler. And just like that, Belgium's gold was no longer in Allied hands. It was in enemy territory. Now here's where it gets worse. The Vichy authorities didn't just hold the gold. They handed it over. In a secretive arrangement, the gold was transported back to Europe through neutral Spain and turned over to Nazi Germany. Yes, the Belgian gold was physically delivered to the Nazis, who promptly melted it down and used it to buy essential war materials, steel, fuel, and weapons. This wasn't just a loss. It was a transfer of power. Because gold doesn't just sit in vaults. It moves nations. It funds empires. And in this case, it funded death. By 1942, nearly all of Belgium's central reserves had been converted into Nazi arms and ammunition. And for the Belgian people, their stolen gold had become a weapon used against their own allies. You might be wondering, how could this happen? How could France, supposedly an ally, allow this? Well, here's the twist. The Banque de France had reportedly known the risks. Some historians argue that key French officials believed Germany would win the war and wanted to position themselves favorably under the new regime. Others believe the gold was a bargaining chip used to preserve French influence within the Nazi-controlled financial system. Either way, Belgium was betrayed. Not by Germany, that was expected, but by its own neighbor. And here's the part nobody talks about. After the war ended, Belgium demanded their gold back. They didn't just ask. They took their case to the newly formed International Monetary Fund and the Tripartite Gold Commission, the allied body created to repatriate looted gold. But the Nazis had already spent the gold. It was gone, vaporized into tanks and bullets. So what did Belgium get? Eventually, they received partial restitution recovered from Nazi reserves stored in Germany and Austria, but only a fraction of the original gold was ever returned. The rest melted, spent, lost to history. And yet this story doesn't end there, because what happened to Belgium in the 1940s is exactly why dozens of countries today, like Germany, Venezuela, and Hungary, have repatriated their gold from foreign vaults in recent years. Trust in Allied central banks is eroding. And after what happened in Belgium, who can blame them? Gold isn't just a shiny rock. It's sovereign insurance. And when the system cracks, possession is everything. Now here's what I want to know from you. If your country had billions in gold stored abroad, would you trust another government to hold it? Or should all nations bring their gold home? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this story as jaw-dropping as I did, like this video, share it, and subscribe, because we're just getting started. More real stories of gold, power, and betrayal are coming next.